The world is on a precipice of a major shift. The monetary reset has begun, and we need to get ready. This program aims to inform you on how the monetary system works, how it has been used to rob you of your wealth. I will take you on a journey of discovering what has happened until now, what events are shaping how we will live our lives, and how you can prepare yourself for the biggest wealth transfer in history. Up until 1932, South Africa was on the gold standard, meaning that for every South African pound, this was before the rand, produced, the user could go to the bank and exchange it for its value or weight in gold. The rand only came into existence in 1961, when South Africa became a republic. That's where the term "your weight in gold" comes from. After 1932, this was abolished. The reason is to be able to produce more currency in order to stimulate the economy, meaning more money in circulation, backed only by the government's word that it was worth something. What this enabled the government to do is produce as much currency as they wanted. This created a deflation in its value and created inflation in the goods on offer. At the same time, gold skyrocketed, which enabled South Africa to sell it abroad, bringing in more currency to fund the infrastructure projects and economic expansion. A bit of history. Back in the 1800s, if you had gold, you could store it in a bank. The bank would give you a note, a piece of paper, sometimes handwritten, certifying that you had either gold or silver stored with them, and then you could use the note to trade with, and the receiver of the note from you could go to the bank and retrieve it for gold and silver. There was no central bank, only private banks offering services and storage for gold and silver. The paper note was as good as gold or silver. In fact, it was gold or silver, just much easier to carry around. A British pound, and so the South African pound, was exchangeable for 7.9 grams of gold or 113.2 grams of silver. Interestingly, over more than a century, that same note bought the same amount of gold. There was no inflation or deflation. It was real money, no manipulation, just an open, free trading market. In South Africa during this time, we had free money, meaning there was no central bank, no government involvement. What you made is what you kept. In the late 1910s, when South African Reserve Bank was being established, the South African government released their own banknotes, which were gold certificates too, but were not convertible to physical gold. What this meant was that going forward, the banknote or certificate you now had was no longer backed by anything, effectively giving the government permission to print at will. In 1945, following World War II, the Bretton Woods system was implemented, where all central banks pegged their currencies to the dollar, which was backed by gold. The US started printing more dollars than there was gold, and when the international countries saw this, they started to convert their dollars for gold. This forced the US to stop this convertibility, and in 1971, US President Richard Nixon put a stop to the gold standard, removing all links between paper currencies and gold. It was never replaced by any other asset, only the promise by the central banks that it was worth value. From 1971, the world has been on a ride of money printing, fractional reserve currency creation, unlimited debt, and the ability to always make good on debts because we can always print more currency. While the man on the street has seen his money devalue over time, reducing his purchasing power. Things have become more expensive. In order for the governments to make money from the people, they invested in infrastructure projects and services like roads, running water, electricity supply, healthcare, etc., and charged taxes to cover these costs. To curb inflation or money supply, they took or take out loans in the form of government bonds with promise of payment through citizen taxes. Since 1965, the amount of currency in circulation in South Africa has grown by 44,000%, whilst gold globally has only been mined at an average growth of 1% per annum. Furthermore, the amount of gold ever mined is about 170,000 tons. From episode 3, government debts globally being at $273 trillion, just on debt, if you had to go back to the gold standard, the gold price would be at around $29,000, which currently it sits at $1,750. What we know as money today is just paper, backed by nothing, only the bankers and government's word, and we have seen an erosion in our buying power due to the scheme. Currency holds no value. The real value is in assets, like property and precious metals. That is why if I asked you today, I'll give you 1 million rand or a house worth 1 million rand, you would choose the house because you know that next year the 1 million rand won't buy you that house, but the house will increase in value, or rather it will cost more rands. Similarly, if I offered you 1 million rand in cash or 1 million rand in gold, you would choose the gold. No matter who you are or how old you are, we know where the value and wealth is, and it's not in the paper we trade with. Subscribe to my channel, like, and share this video. Thank you.